Get ready for the countdown. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2.
All right, it's time for the VooDoo Chef podcast, where we will discuss all things voodoo from the VooDoo Studios located right here in beautiful Tampa, Florida. So to all my booties out there, if you're looking for nothing but a good time, this is the place to be. Call your friends, knock on the neighbor's door, and let them know it's time to party like a rock star for the next hour. Join me and my guests and learn to VooDoo like we do as we discuss our faves and the voodoo that we use. I'll put our guests on the spot as we ask for their top 3, and make sure and listen as we discuss some of our favorite war stories from the kitchens we've worked in. Sit back, grab a tall glass of your favorite libation, and enjoy this episode of the VooDoo Chef podcast.
What is going on, Booties, man? It's a great night tonight. Always a great night at the VooDoo Chef podcast. Thanks for tuning in, checking us out. As always, a big shout out to Eurobake. My favorite bread out there that we're using. Make sure you check them out. Find them. All my restaurateur guys, you know them as that staple go-to. A lot of places around town using it. You don't even know it, but make sure you check them out. Big shout out to Ryland Cutlery for partnering with us and helping us create that very special VooDoo Chef 13 blade. Check it out on our website. You can pick them all up. And as always, use that code podcast to get a nice little discount. Flame Boss, we couldn't do what we do on the BGE without the Flame Boss. We're now an official Flame Boss ambassador, so got to throw them some mad props and mad love. Just a wonderful, wonderful group of people. They're definitely the boss of me when I'm out there on my BGE. So rocking and rolling. And if you want to see that in action, we are cooking live every Wednesday. That would be tomorrow. Booties Unite, 6 o'clock. Make sure and check it out. If you're checking in right now, make sure you throw those hearts, those likes, those shares in that chat bar. Let us know where you're checking in from. Most importantly, what you're drinking. Speaking of drinking, do you know what today is? It's a very special podcast. I don't know if you knew that. It's a very special podcast. But before we get there, let's talk about all things voodoo. The camera makes it go backwards. It drives me insane. All things voodoo. David, Vicky checking in. What's going on, my friend? Thanks for checking in tonight. Make sure you stick around. It's going to be a special night. We're going to be doing some bourbon tasting live on air tonight. And when I say bourbon, we all know I mean Tennessee whiskey. And when I say Tennessee whiskey, we all know I mean Jack Daniels. Tomorrow, Booties Unite. Got a very cool dish. We're doing a buffalo chicken tenderloin served with a blue cheese, mac and cheese, and some grilled broccoli. Make sure you check it out. Everything there you can, real easy, real simple. Take the recipes down. Pick up the products on VooDooChef.com. Bearded Monkeys, Twisted Q checking in. Man, I've been watching you guys. You guys are at all the competitions. What's going on, man? I think we met and ran into each other down at Wicked Oak. And, we were connected on all the social media pages. But we connected at Wicked Oak, had some nice conversations. And now I'm seeing you guys all over the barbecue scene. You guys are doing amazing things. Speaking of Wicked Oak, Bearded Monkeys, just saying, they're going to be at the VooDoo Bash. And they're going to be competing for the best burger in Tampa Bay. You know what? If you happen to be in Tampa Bay on that day at that time cooking burgers, you could win too. I don't care where you're traveling from. We just want the best burger. Everybody knows I love burgers. Spider and I were eating burgers today. We went to Hooters and got burgers, right? I mean, you guys all know I go there. I tear up the chicken wings with my brother. We got to get the blue cheese, but Spider said, hey, I'm at Hooters getting a burger. Come on down. Went down, had a burger. Couple shots of Jack Daniels showed up at the table. Some of our buddies were in the room, sent some drinks over. Man, just a great day. The dates, August 13th. August 13th. We will be looking for the best burger in Tampa Bay. We already have 8 teams signed up. We are also doing an SCA steak cook-off that day, and you can sign up, compete in that steak competition. You can register for the best burger in Tampa Bay. It is VooDoo Bash, and if you know anything about us, we love food, we love music, and we love helping people go to culinary school. And that's what VooDoo Bash is. Great music, great food for a great cause. So you'll come out, sample all the burgers. You'll even get a vote in your favorite burger. And there'll be a fan favorite. There'll be a judge's favorite. Confirmed today, Leanne Whippen will be on site judging best burgers with me. Last year we had Chef Richard Hales, Food Network guy. Hopefully we get him back out. Leanne Whippen, do we really need to say any more than Leanne Whippen? Queen of Barbecue. Come on now. She'll be judging burgers with us. And we don't know who the judges for SCA state competition are going to be yet, because you do have to be an SCA certified judge. I'm not sure if Leanne is or isn't. I am working on getting mine, so we can just make sure we have a clean sweep here. It's going to be a great, great day. And again, great food, great music, all for a great cause. Let's see if I can run down some of these people competing. Wicked Oak competing in the burger. Eastlake Woodlands Barbecue, Chef Tim Keelick competing in the burger. Carl Miller, Silver and Smoke Barbecue, competing in the burger. Confirmed today, Chef Butta from Chena, who beat Bobby Flay. That's right, he was on Beat Bobby Flay and beat Bobby Flay. He will be competing in Best Burger. Cole McBride, our buddy Cole from Fat Rabbit Pub, will be competing in Best Burger. We have a solo individual entry. Mitch Smithy, he was there last year with some of his students from Robinson High School throwing down, and held their own to get some of these big boys out there. Chef, not taken away from you at all, but you're doing it with high school kids, and we all know the perception of that. You guys just destroyed, homie. So that was 5. I'm missing somebody, and somebody's just going to be really mad at me. Happens all the time. That's what happens when I don't open my list, right? That's right. So Bearded Monkeys, Twisted Cube, nice to hear that you are open. We will definitely send you the info. We are currently booking music acts. It is going to be a rockin' day. Carl Miller checking in. Silver Smoke 11. Make sure you find him. He will be talking smack about all the other competitors. That's what he does. And, you know, we'll see how it rocks out, Carl. We just appreciate all your love for our foundation and what we do. Hey, checking in right now. Popping in from educating the youth of America. Big Eddie C. What is up, my main man?
Not enough, man. How are you?
Oh, man, you're not getting that cold that's going around, are you, buddy?
I think it's just seasonal allergy bullshit. You know, ironically, it started right when I started going to graduations on Friday. So for all I know, I got some fucking crud from that. But, you know, it's just draining all into my chest. And now I sound like I'm about ready to go front an R&B cover act. You know,
you know those graduations will do it to you. You know, you put all those people in one room. Who knows who has what? You know, if you're out there at those graduations, guys, we got a lot more scheduled. Make sure you're being safe. Think of yourself. Think of other people. You know, if you got to mask up. If you're feeling a little bit sick, you know, make sure you're thinking of others. Take care of everybody out there. We got to be safe. Got to stay safe. Big boy doesn't want another lockdown. Hey, Big Eddie C, I don't know if you tell, I'm a little excited tonight. You know, I get excited for every podcast, but today I almost feel like a giddy schoolgirl, man.
Oh, good.
So before we start, I just want to clarify something. You know, I went to a rock show last night. You know, I went to see Striper, a Christian rock band. I've been going to see him since 1985. And, you know, I went with some of my buddies and I said, hey, guys, you know what? I'll drive. I'll be the DD tonight. You know, you guys enjoy. And, you know, I told the story to some people and they're like, dude, seriously? I mean, don't you just like you live with a flask? Don't you go to bed with a flask at night? And for the record here, guys, I make no bones about it. I love Jack Daniels. I drink Jack Daniels, and I really enjoy it. But most importantly, we drink responsibly, and that's number one. Rule number one: make sure you're drinking responsibly. When we're here with VooDoo Chef, of course, I'm sitting here having a cocktail. So every week you see me sitting here having a cocktail. That doesn't mean I live with a cocktail in my hand. And we are very responsible and don't be deceived and don't fall into believing the TV, right there, Big Eddie C.
Yeah, it's all bullshit.
I got a big old 1 quart of unsweet tea here, guys. That's my number one drink. So and coffee's a quick number 2. So let's keep things in perspective and make sure we realize and throw that out there. It is what it is. I just want to make sure we're all clear. If you're going to drink responsibly and be smart. But with all that said, Big Eddie C, this right here has had me excited for quite some time. Jack Daniels.
Bonded. Look at that.
Barreled and bond, man. I can't wait. Took me 24 stores, whether it was in person or on the internet. 24 stores. I called friends. I Regis filmed it, man. I phoned a friend. We not yet, man. Not yet. I went to the last place I ever thought would have this stuff. And I pulled in and I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna check. There it was, man. It was like I found the holy grail, dude. And so I bought both of the new brands, and we're both new flavor profiles. I don't know. We'll get the real terminology here in a minute. I just want to taste it. This has been sitting over my right shoulder for I think the past 2 podcasts, and I've just been itching and screaming and wanting to taste it. And we're going to do that tonight. And we're also going to open the number 27 Gold. This was given to me as a gift from some dear friends of mine, the Thomases. Thank you so much. It came across my feed on Facebook, and just being the smart ass I am, I said, man, I need some gold or something like that. Next time I run into the Thomases, here they are. I got you, homie. And, wow. The fact that they think of me means the world. So excitement tonight. We're going to be opening these things. Spider's going to pop in just a little bit and taste with us because Big Eddie C, this isn't your cup of tea.
Wow. I'm going to dig this, though. It's just exciting to watch other people get after it with a brand new booze, man.
Stella's in town, and Stella's got a new groove. Speaking of new grooves, it's time to get educated on the new groove. Man, I think I met this gentleman, Gasparilla, Pig Jig, who knows where. Somebody knew I liked Jack Daniels. They said, you need to meet Darren. And we've been hanging out and chit-chatting ever since. Darren, what's up, my man? Oh, I got you. You're on mute. Let me see here. You're going to have to unmute yourself.
How's that?
What's going on, friend?
Let's go, man. Let's go. How about them? How about them Lightning?
Oh man,
unbelievable!
I'm at the concert last night, and I got my phone on watching some of the game because the guys with me were like, "I need to know the score." I'm like, "All right, man, we'll put it on the TV."
Wow.
Oh man, dude, I am like way stoked, and I saw you while you were sitting in the little green room there, filling up your glass already, man, getting a head start.
No, man, I had to get some Gold 27. So the good news and bad news, I guess. The good news is we have 2 new products. Obviously, the bonded and the triple mash, which you have.
Right.
The bad news with that is sometimes when we add new family members, we gotta kick a few to the curb just to cut it down a little bit. Man. And the one that's leaving will be the Gold 27. So if our final production will be next month in June. So if you end up really liking it, I recommend going out and getting another bottle.
Well,
that'll be the end of it. So
everybody out there, you're gonna have to go out there and grab it.
Yeah. So we're out right now. Like our distributor's out. So we're waiting on our final shipment to come in July, August. And when we sell out of that, it's gone. So if you're a Gold 27 fan, grab it while you can. So
it's a hot commodity. I could not find it either.
Yeah, and it's been like we'll talk a little bit about it. It initially came out 7-8 years ago, and it was only available duty free. And it's basically what the 27 is. It stood for double barreling. So the 2 stood for double barreling. So what they do is they take in its double. So basically, it's similar to like a Gentleman Jack, where it's double mellow, double barreled, but the second barrel is a maple cask. So it's finished in a maple cask. But what they found out was those maple casks aren't real tight like an American oak cask would be, and the barrels leak like crazy. So we end up losing a lot of whiskey. And obviously Jack Daniels, we don't like losing whiskey. That's gold in itself. So ultimately, that process and this whiskey became too expensive to make to keep it affordable. So they just we're going to move on to other projects. So
is that because
the whiskey's been around? It's great. I mean, we'll kind of try it here, but it's a light. If you, I don't know, Eric, if you want to pour yourself one.
Oh, absolutely. I've been waiting, my friend.
Yeah. So
is that because the maple wood is just not a good wood to make a barrel out of? It just
correct. So all bourbon barrels in themselves, Tennessee whiskey barrels, are American oak, and those obviously barrels are all put together just by the staves and by hand. There's no nails, there's no glue, there's nothing. They're just compressed together, and those American oak barrels are tight.
Okay.
And the maple wood itself just doesn't get that tight, and there tends to be a lot of leakage. So we lose a lot of whiskey, and that's a shame, because the whiskey it finishes really, really nice. It's a light whiskey. For people that like that lighter style whiskey, think of it. It's very, very similarly to a Gentleman Jack, but it does have that kind of sweet caramel kind of notes on the palate, because it is going to drink light. So I wouldn't call it a beginner whiskey, but it's definitely somebody that doesn't like that big, heavy, oakier style whiskey. It's a very nice, light sipping whiskey. And I know people that absolutely love it, and they're devastated that it's going away.
It is very light, man. I mean, I heard somebody describe it as thin.
Yes.
And I didn't understand what they meant, but now I do. It doesn't have that heavy feel.
Yeah, especially I think people get, not that there's a perception with Jack, but definitely people know what Jack tastes like, and it kind of has that Jack taste. and I don't know necessarily sipping Gold 27 that you jump, if you were doing a blind taste test, I don't know necessarily that you'd stick out and say, hey, that's Jack Daniels.
I don't think I would, and I'm drinking it and looking at the bottle, and it just doesn't. It's not the same. And
that's why, like, when talking to you, I said let's start with that one, because it's the lightest whiskey, even though it's the most expensive of the 3 that we're drinking today. So,
and the cost of it is probably raised because of the spillage, right?
Correct. I mean, and it comes in, obviously, the beautiful gold box that it comes in, and all that.
Dude, I was looking at some of these prices, and I'm like, damn, I got some nice ass friends, man.
Yeah, exactly.
So first of all, you mentioned that this is like Gentleman Jack, in the fact that it's double filtered. Now, they filter it when it goes in, before it goes in the barrel, correct?
Correct. So that's what makes the difference. That makes Jack Daniels a Tennessee whiskey and not a bourbon.
Correct.
So when we come off the still, we are actually a bourbon, and we go through 10 feet of sugar, charcoal, maple. Basically, they have these big vats stacked 10 feet packed of little charcoal, ground up charcoal. And as it goes into the top of it, it goes in a bourbon. But when it comes out at the bottom, 5 days later, it's a Tennessee whiskey. So that charcoal acts like a Brita water filter, basically, in your refrigerator, and it basically just takes out impurities. For the main thing it takes out in our whiskey is corn oil. So it really kind of softens it up a little bit, because the corn can really tend up to be really bitter. So it just kind of takes out those corn oils. So when it goes into the top, it's bourbon. When it comes out the bottom, it's Tennessee whiskey. We take it from there and we throw it in the barrel. So from there, we're going to age it at least a minimum 4 years. And when old number 7 comes out of the barrel, they charcoal mellow it again. This time, instead of doing 10 feet, they only do 3 feet, and they do more of a flash, so it kind of goes through a little bit quicker.
Right.
And it goes in old number 7. It comes out Gentleman Jack. And
so at that point, it doesn't go back in a barrel. It goes into a bottle for Gentleman Jack, right?
Correct.
But for 27, it goes into a maple barrel at that point.
Well, no? 27 would be, yes. It would go into that second cask. Correct.
Oh, second cask.
Correct. But the second cask would be the maple barrel.
And
so
how long
does have Gentleman Jack double mellow, double barreled.
And how long does it stay in that maple barrel?
About 6 months. But like I said, that's where any more we lose too much whiskey. So
right. You know, in thought and idea, it's great, but you're right. When that whiskey's spilling all over the floor, I could just see somebody's eyes twitching up there.
Right, and you got to and the barrels are laid on their side, so just a lot of it's just dripping. It makes a big mess. It's just not. And if you're losing 50% of a barrel, you're crying. So,
oh my God. So there's no way to recapture
there's angel share and then there's rat share or whatever. There's no.
You know, you definitely get the caramel. You definitely get a hint of that maple. It definitely does not drink heavy at all. I mean,
no, just a nice light sipping whiskey.
That's really good, man. And it is definitely a sipping whiskey. That's super yummy. And if you're out there watching, we got my man Darren from Brown Foreman on here. I always do that because Darryl introduced me to you. So I always associate you guys together. But you know, you represent all of Brown Foreman for the state of Florida. And of course, I only care about one brand.
Yeah, and honestly, I'm as big as Jack fan as anybody. So I carry the pirate flag big and heavy, and it's my favorite too, and it has been since 1983. So it's a long time.
It's really funny when we first got together. We were at a restaurant we're at the Bricks in Ybor City.
Okay.
And we were sitting across from each other, looking at each other like we are right now. On one side of you had somebody from Jack Daniels that worked for you. And on the other side, you had somebody from Brown Foreman. And I said, dude, all I do is I cook, and I cook with Jack. And quite honestly, I put it on every recipe, whether it's in the recipe or not, because when I do a demo, they have to give me a glass of Jack. And I drink it, and then I cook. And you said, well, you know what? We'll give you Jack. You want to cook with Brown Foreman. Do you remember what I said to you? I said, what's Brown Foreman? And you looked at me like I was didn't know. I drink Jack Daniels.
No, exactly. Hey, it's all good. It's all good.
Hey, we're gonna bring in my Jack drinking buddy right now. Our friend from VooDoo Chef Foundation, VooDoo crew from way back. Man, the right hand at all our events, helping with logistics, security, you name it. We'll just call him Spider. What's going on, homie?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Living the dream, man. Living the dream. Great lunch today. And, best part about that lunch, those 2 Jack Daniels that got sent to our table by somebody who saw us and said, hey, I know what those guys drink.
Yes.
But, so I ran into Spider and I told him we were doing this tonight. And he said,
there he goes.
And, he goes, I want to get in on that. And, I'm going to pop this right here real quick before we start talking. When we talk about barreled and bond, that might be foreign to a lot of people, and it was foreign to me. And so I started doing some research, and please correct me when I'm wrong. Back in the day when Tennessee distillers were making the bourbon, some of these other people, we won't make any names, were taking stuff and maybe thinning it down or selling it.
So basically in the mid, we're going to call it the 1860s, 1870s. During that time frame, there was a lot of whiskey being made, and there was no regulations at all, no government regulations. And the Bottled and Bond Act, funny enough, became pretty much like a prelude to the FDA in reality, because there was no kind of control. So during that time, the government did, they basically checked a bunch of barrels just trying to see, because people were getting sick and there's a lot of complaints. And only about 50% of the barrels out there were true bourbon from that left the distillery. Now at that time, most everything was being sold by barrel, and it was being carried throughout the towns. And obviously just some unscrupulous people would be stealing whiskey out of it and reselling it or drinking it or doing whatever, and then refilling the barrels with other stuff. And they found the government doing tests. There was anything from like prune juice to natural spirits, tobacco spit, to rattlesnake heads, to turpentine, water. They put anything back in those barrels.
Dude, I read formaldehyde in one of the research.
Yeah. So like people would put anything back in there. They found all kinds of stuff.
Glycerin.
And then finally, so the government in March of 1897 created the Bottled and Bond Act. And it was basically the first time the government had any restrictions on food or alcohol, that there was actually, the government actually cared enough and said, well, hey, we're going to stop this. We're going to control it. What they did was, to be a bottled and bond whiskey, that you had to come from one distiller. So there was no more blending of stuff. It had to be one distiller, so they could count on that whiskey. It had to be done in one season. So the whiskey had to been done from either January to June or from July to December. And then it had to be aged at least 4 years, and it had to be bottled at 100 proof or barreled at 100 proof. And that was it. So basically, and that was restrictions. Now the government also figured out, it's the government. The government figured out, hey, this is a great way for us to make a lot of money, because there was a lot of bootleggers out there. And the government basically gave distilleries a discount for their taxes if they abided by these laws. And basically they had a tax incentive that they wouldn't pay as much tax if they followed all the government guidelines. But it was a great way for the government, obviously, to kind of seize control. And then basically it took about 10 years, but 9 years later, in 1906, that's when the FDA was created. But this was done. Basically, it was kind of like the first time the government actually stepped in from a quality control standpoint to protect the American citizens on harmful products out there. So it was kind of a little bit ahead of its time. So
It's super cool story. And you know, one thing I try to talk as we're teaching the kiddos, and you know, over the years, you know, the government, so to speak, their role is to protect the citizens who they govern. And you know, you get these groups in there, and I gotta believe that some of these distillers were actually probably lobbying to help make this go through to protect their investment too. I mean, that's nature of the beast. So you probably had a lot of you know, we'll call them an activist group. That's not the name I'm looking for. What do they call those people? Man, COVID, just going to throw it out there. Lobbyists. You know, back in the day, you know, these Tennessee distillers were probably lobbying to help make this right so they can protect their investment as well.
Yeah. Kind of funny how it's kind of everything comes full circle. In with Brown-Forman, our founding brand is Old Forester, and George Garvin Brown was way ahead of its time, because a lot of that was still going on in 1870. But the only difference then, he was a pharmaceutical salesman who would source whiskey from 3 different people and blend it together. But he knew there was a lot of unscrupulous stuff going on there, and he would protect his whiskey. So he was the first one to bottle bourbon, and way back in 1870. And you got to figure that was still going on then. It still took 27 years later before the government kind of caught up and said, hey, this is still going on and people are getting sick and we need to protect the American consumer. Because whiskey, people don't realize how big whiskey was back then, because it was really done. It was used tremendously for medicinal purposes. So, and there were people, unfortunately, there were brands out there that would kind of tell lies, and they would say that, hey, drink our whiskey and it'll make you 160 years old and it'll cure cancer, and like they do a lot of shady stuff, and part of that, the act coming in and the government taking over and saying, hey, no more these lies, and we're going to clamp down on some of these snake oil salesmen.
Charlatans, man. That's what they are.
Yeah.
Hey, so let's take a look at this. Now we're going to do the regular first, right? The bond.
Correct.
So first thing that I find super cool is just the attractiveness of this bottle. This is designed off of one of the original 1895 bottles. Is correct.
That correct? So these is basically how our bottles were pre-labeled, even though this one does have a label on it, but they're embossed bottles. Obviously, in the front, you see where it says Jack Daniel's Distillery, and then on the back where it says established 1866. Jack was the first registered distillery way back in 1866. So kind of very, very, very cool. Kind of paying homage to the old style bottles. Jack didn't come out with a paper label until around 1904, 1905.
Absolutely gorgeous, man. And then something else I noticed, and maybe it's just the fact that I don't have my glasses on. 700 ml.
Correct. So 700 is the worldwide standard for bottling. And the U.S. was basically, even though it's a huge, large market, the U.S. is basically one of the only spots by far, like 99% of 750 milliliters are done here in the U.S. But the world standard, if you go to Europe and China and all these other places, they're using 700s. And
we just had to be bigger and better, right?
Yeah. So the ABT this past January approved 700 milliliters to be produced in the U.S. So right now we're taking all of our specialty items like this later on, or the early spring of next year when the Jack 10 and 12 year come out, that those will be 700 milliliters. And then my guess is over the next decade, you're going to see everything switch from a 750 to a 700 in the U.S. Just especially now, where big glass shortages throughout the world, and people are and it'll make it easier from a bottling standpoint if we're just doing one size.
Darren, I gotta ask because you said it. You said 10 and 12. Are those going to become permanent fixtures?
Okay, so they will be a permanent annual release. So they will not be like where these bonded products are going to be every day on the shelf. The 10, 12 will be available, but they will be limited releases. Last year, the 10 came out right before the end of the year.
And went away.
This coming year, the 10 and 12 will not hit. I don't believe until late January, maybe February, just because we're having behind a little bit in bottling issues. But the 10 year will have the second run of it. It'll be the first year it'll be batch 2 of the 10 year and batch 1 of the 12 year.
Now, the 10 got rated the #1 Jack product. Can you comment on that? I've tasted that. I can't even.
Yeah, well, we've got to hook up. I'll be glad to take it.
You got to give me your thoughts on it, man.
No. And honestly, it was rated the number 4 whiskey and Whiskey Advocate this past year, and so it's a beautiful thing about Jack Daniel's. Obviously, people have a thought of, hey, was my granddad's drink, or as my dad drank it, or whatever. It's kind of an old brand. Obviously, we're a large brand, number 1 whiskey in the world, but we're really 10 years ago they made a conscious effort of, hey, we've got to bring new consumers. The consumers today are looking to try new things consistently, and we can't just rely. People like myself, and thank you to you, VooDoo, that you've been loyal to Jack since you were a young man. And unfortunately, today's consumers aren't as loyal. So we've got to bring new consumers in from all demographics. And it's just kind of, so we're creating a lot of whiskeys out there to appeal to everybody. So there's, even if you don't like Old Number 7, hopefully there's something in the portfolio that you can kind of relate to. Obviously these bonded whiskeys are going to feel fitting great in the craft cocktail culture, which is huge right now. Right. A lot of these age statements and the special releases that they've come out with have been super, very well received and gotten huge accolades in the whiskey snub type markets, and people would have never thought that Jack Daniel's would kind of fit in there of being some of the top whiskeys in the world.
It's funny, I used to go to the Epicurean and I couldn't get a glass of the Black Label. I had to get Gentleman Jack.
Yeah.
And I just don't care for that as much as I like the Black Label. And, everybody has their preferences. When we talk about all of the brands, though, all of the different flavor profiles, what I think is most unique is they all start with Old Number 7.
Yeah, they're all outside of the rye product now, which they're all Old Number 7, and that's the amazing part. So it's all just how they're finished, or what we do to them, to like the Gold 27 of double mellowing it, double barreling it, and throwing it into a maple cask, and how it just changes the whiskey. Correct. So, but they're all great whiskeys, and like you said, they're all start off Old Number 7, which is the crazy thing.
So, past the bottle, now we get into the actual product. So, when we're talking about the straight bonded, this is Number 7.
Correct. So how that's different now. Jack Daniel's has bonded warehouses anyway. Right. So that's the only true difference of that is to where it's definitely done in one season, and it's probably aged a little longer than an regular Old Number 7, and it's at 100 proof. But other than that, it is 100 proof Old Number 7.
So if we were to, think back to the history you were telling us, in the 70s and 80s, people got a softer palate, and we tamed Jack Daniel's down to 80 proof. Correct. Now, if my memory is correct, COVID, it was 90 prior to that?
Yes, we were at 90. We went to 86, and then went down to 80. So
this
people, so the old school drinker of Jack and Coke, when they drink this, will probably say, "This is the Jack and Coke I remember as a kid."
As a kid,
as a young man.
I don't care for. I like Coca-Cola. We all know that. If you drink Pepsi, you're not allowed back in the podcast. I'm a Coke guy, but I do not like Jack and Coke. And I wonder what's going to happen if I make a Jack and Coke out of this. I'm interested now. I'm going to try it out.
Yeah, well, ginger or just we know you just take your Jack and drink it straight. You're good.
Well, time release water and a lime.
Well, look there, dipshit. You better do it with the Mexican Coke.
Yeah, Mexican go. There you go.
This is really, really good. I mean, normally I have to have I prefer my drinks on ice, like hard packed with ice. But this is smooth. This is really,
obviously
really
to me on the bonded, I get a little caramel. Obviously, you definitely get the oak from just being there, but it's and maybe finish with a little spice, but it's a good, really, really good sipping whiskey. And like I said, if you like Jack, you're gonna like the bonded. It's because it's 100 proof Jack Daniel's.
I'm surprised how smooth how easy that's going down.
Especially at 100 proof. That's the beauty.
Exactly. Spidey, what do you think, man?
I think it's great. I'm getting the caramel notes left and right. Do you foresee Jack Daniel's going into more of the flavor profiles that a lot of other whiskeys are going into?
So we have the flavors. So I don't want to offend anybody or whatever, but I would say probably our distillers probably aren't the biggest fans of the flavors. They like making whiskey, not making flavors. But the flavors do serve a good, as we talked about, just trying to get new consumers. The flavors are a great tool for us to attract that 21 to 25-year-old into the Jack Daniel's branded name. So whether it's Jack Fire, or Jack Honey, or Jack Apple, that the hope is that hey, maybe they'll start off doing it as a shot or having enjoyed Jack Honey and lemonade or something, and then when they get out of college, they're already familiar with the Jack name, and maybe they'll convert over into the old number 7 or a Gentleman Jack as they progress a little bit. But just to try to lure that younger consumer into our brand per se. I don't necessarily know that. I would say that never say never, and I would imagine at some point there's probably a real good chance. I'd like to see him come out with a peach at some point, but that's not our. You're going to see a lot more innovation like the bonded and the special releases and the 10 and 12 than you are a Jack Daniel's watermelon or whatever coming out. We're not flavored vodka. We're still whiskey. We're still want to be true to the brand and the heritage of what Jack Daniel's is, and know what kind of more of our consumers are looking for. But there is a time and a place for everything, and it wouldn't shock me down the road. Right now, I don't know of any plans. I haven't seen anything that, hey, in the next 12 months, we're going to have a new flavor. But down the road, I could definitely see an addition of some sort. But that there could also be a subtraction too, that if they come out with one, they may discontinue one that's not selling so well.
You know,
So
when we talk
Darren
about,
did say that he mentioned the 21 to 25-year-old drinker, which we call millennials, and you should probably, it's a good point for you to share what you think of millennials.
you know, I don't understand millennials, and as we're pushing backwards, it's actually, I think, Gen Z.
Yeah.
And I don't understand them either. And what I mean by that is I really hate them. But, you know, Darren, it's funny because you talk about in our last cast where we did the tasting, we tasted a lot of the flavors.
Yeah.
And we did the apple, we did the honey, we did the fire, and we tasted those. And you talked about hitting those consumers, looking for those folks to join in. And you so politely talk about, you know, that age bracket. And then as they mature, progressing into some of the more upscale products or grown-up products or that high-end product. And it's so smart as you sit and think about it, because you know they're out there. I don't even know the names of the product. I know Fireball because of Pitbull. So rather than have them drink Fireball and then go, oh, I want to move into a bourbon, and now they pick, we create our own Fireball, which is way better than Fireball.
Correct.
Jack Fire is absolutely insane, and I wouldn't even. I mean, I wouldn't even go that route. But there's a bottle over there, and every now and again it has its place and it finds its home.
Correct.
But then as they start progressing and moving through that, and flavor profiles change, tastes change. More importantly, financial status changes. And the circles they run in changes. Now they have that brand familiarity, which is just like super smart, man. Super smart.
All right, let's get some triple mash.
Well, you got to tell me. This is exactly the same exact process, just that 100 proof. What is the response from people immediately? I know it's flying off the shelves because I can't find it.
No, yeah, the response has been tremendous so far. We'll see. I mean, the proofs right now, obviously, a lot of people buying it and whatever, and I think people have been really excited, both in not only retail but in the bars, restaurants as well. That it's kind of capturing. Like I said, getting into some of these craft cocktail bars that kind of, I wouldn't say turn their nose up, but there are a lot of them out there that wouldn't even, as you talked about, like Epicurean or whatever, that didn't even carry old number 7. That's not kind of what they look for. And right. Unfortunately, there was a few of those bars, and we still want to protect the mother brand, but brands like the Bonded and the 10-year, those are going to open up some doors for us and kind of change a perception of what Jack Daniel's is to a lot of people. And because I think people have that, like I said, predetermined
right
of thing that, oh, it's just a big multi-million case brand, which we are, but there's also a lot of craft in what we do. We were the original craft whiskey per se, and to the extent that everything down to charcoal mellowing. Charcoal mellowing wasn't something that Jack or Neris Green invented. That was just how they felt that it was the highest quality of what you could do to your bourbon. And that's how Jack, he was emphatic that they would always make bourbon that way. And a lot of people did. A lot of people made their bourbon back that way back then. It was cut out because A, it was time consuming, and B, it was costly. So a lot of times people, they just cut corners. And one of the things Jack's nephews, the Motlow family, when they sold to Brown-Forman in 1956, they were offered more money than what Brown-Forman had offered to buy Jack. But one of the main stipulations that they had, and they knew that the Browns wouldn't change it, was we promised to always make whiskey, the Jack Daniel's whiskey, exactly like Uncle Jack made it. And we would never change the recipe. We would never cut corners. We would always use the highest grade products. And that was one of the reasons they sold to us.
That's absolutely incredible. And the fact that you maintain that integrity just speaks volumes, because that's what Jack was about, right?
Correct.
Absolutely. I mean, without going into a lot of details, big thank you. I went from being a fan of the Black Label to being a fan of the story, the history, the meaning, the integrity, everything about it. And it's because of you and your appreciation of me just liking the product, and nothing but mad love, my friend.
No, all good.
I learned so much in this podcast. It's unbelievable. I learned so much about Jack. It's amazing.
I got to tell you, I'm stalling a little bit on the triple mash.
Yeah.
So when we talk about the triple mash, we're getting into something a little different. 60% Jack Daniel's Tennessee Rye, 20% Jack Daniel's, and 20% Jack Daniel's American malt. Let's start on the last one. Tell me about the American malt, what that is, what that means.
So there is in regular Jack Daniel's product, so just the old number 7, it is made with 80% corn, 12% malt. So malt is basically barley, and it's made with 8% rye. This is a little bit reversed. And to give you kind of a little, every year Jack comes out with a special release that comes out in September, October. Last year it was a bottle called Jack Daniel's Coy Hill. And so Coy Hill was the highest proof whiskey, as far as we know, ever registered. It was anywhere between 130 and 148 proof. We actually had some bottles that were bottled that came in, the proof was actually over 150, but the corks wouldn't stay in the bottle. So the highest we could bottle at the time was around 148. But most of them were in around that 140 range. And that was our special release product that we had. This coming year, so in September, October this year, our special release will basically be a Jack Daniel's malted product. So when you think of malt, you think of scotches, because scotches basically are 100% malted barley. So this would be basically Jack Daniel's version of an American Scotch.
I'm just going to go on record and say I will be seeing you in October at
yes
on 1022.
Yes. So kind of just leave it there, kind of leave it dangling. So for those of you that can get your hands on that product, I'm sure it's going to be booming. But it's exciting here in the triple mash to have a product that with 20% malt, which is the largest amount of malt we've ever had in a product. And even though it's 60% rye, to me, when we get into tasting it, when people think of rye, it typically adds a lot of spice or maybe pepperish kind of hints to the whiskey. To me, when sipping this, you definitely pick up the malt. There's no doubt. And even though it's only 20% malt, the malt comes through, and it makes a statement that it's there. And whether you're a fan of Scotch or not, this would I think people are really gonna not only like this whiskey, they're really gonna like the malt product when it comes out in September.
It's got a real nice nose to it, man.
Yeah, I tend to get like obviously. Again, I get a little bit of the nose on it. I tend to typically get a little bit of the oak from it, and on the palate, just a little bit of honey, and obviously
the honey.
Yeah, and then obviously the malt comes through, and then a little bit of spice on the finish.
So
this is great for mixing cocktails. To me, this is more of a mixing cocktails style whiskey than it is a sipping whiskey, but hey, if you want to sip it, that's good for you too. I typically would prefer sipping the bonded over this, but using this in a cocktail because I think it has such big flavors all over the place.
I love how this coats my mouth.
Yeah,
I love how it just fully coats my mouth. And you know, if you were going to twist my arm and say, tell me your least favorite product.
Yeah,
it would be rye. Even though I got my hat on today.
Yeah, no,
I've had 3 wardrobe changes.
Yeah.
You know, rye for some reason, it makes me sad, and I know that sounds silly and odd and funny, but I found it when I drank Jack Rye, when I drank Templeton Rye. That was a gift. My brother drinks Templeton Rye. He brought it down as a gift, and it doesn't act well with me. So I was reluctant to taste this, and twisting that arm, you know me, I don't do honey.
Yeah.
You know, I'll do agave instead of honey because I just am not a fan. So when I smelt this and I smelt the honey right away, I was like, you know, I don't know. But God dang, I really enjoy how this coats my mouth.
It's got a lot of flavor. Lots and lots of flavor. And again, 100 proof. You wouldn't, from sipping it, you're getting, to me, no burn at all. It just sips delicious.
You know, I do get when you afterwards, you get a little bit of that heat and oh my God, the after notes on this are absolutely amazing.
Exactly. And you're drinking it straight. Like I said, and if you have typically have it, even if it's just a nice cube and open it up a little bit, you're going to get more. That whiskey's going to open up even more.
Spidey, this is going for our next event right here because you don't have one of these over there. We might have to find and buy another one.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward. With all the notes you're telling me, I'd love to cook with it and see how it comes out.
Yeah,
and I got to tell you that this excites me tasting it. In the bottle, I was like, all right, we're going to open it because we're on the podcast.
Yeah,
I think this is going to be something that you'll find me sipping. This is absolutely amazing.
Glad you like it.
Awesome.
What are you surprised?
I might drop over tomorrow.
Saturday morning, man. I'll be playing my guitar all day.
Yeah, I'll be working.
All right, man. You know, I'd love to sit here and do this all day, but I know you're a busy man. I know you got a lot of things to do, but we can't let you leave, you know, without getting down to some nitty gritty here, my friend.
All right, let's do it.
You know, we every week on the podcast, we have guests in and we like to get to know them. We do a couple things. We normally do a top 3. Spidey, I don't know, you caught your notes late, so you might have to catch up. We'll come to you last in the first round so you can make some notes. You know, I know, Darren, you and I are fans of music. And, you know, I thought it would be fun to chat with you and learn a little bit more about you from your top 3 concerts you've ever attended. And so what we're going to do, we'll go 3, 2, 1. We'll all name our number 3. We'll all name our number 2. We'll all name our number 1. If you're
at the same time or individually?
No, we'll go individually because, you know, I like to talk about them because I know you're going to mention some of the same ones I was at. And it's going to be like, oh, man, remember when this happened? And you might say some people that I've never been to, and it's going to excite me to hear about it, too. So And if you're playing along at home, feel free to drop your top 3 concerts.
One decides what to do the top. I've been to a lot of shows. I'll say that. So picking
I
the
believe
top
that.
are going to be hard. But I could probably name off of 3 worst, a couple of those too.
I could, you know what? It's funny. If we were to say the 3 worst, the first thing that came to my mind is I saw Donnie and Marie with the Osmond brothers. And when I say worst, at 14 years old, that's the last place you want to fucking go, right? You're like, I don't want to go to that shit. But in hindsight, I'm like, fuck, I saw Donnie, Marie, and the Osmond brothers. How badass is that, man?
Yeah.
Who could say that?
I can't say that. There's the two that aren't on my list.
You ready for a lot? All right, give me your worst. Give me your worst, and give me not your worst, but as long as it's not in your top 3, one that would shock us that you've seen.
Who? A shocker. Cyndi Lauper, maybe?
Oh, dude, I'm jealous, bro.
Yeah, seen Cyndi Lauper.
How was that?
It honestly was really good. It was at Framingham State College in 19.
So it was girls just want to have fun.
Yeah, 86 maybe, 85, 86, somewhere in there. And she was really good. I mean, really good.
I'm mad jealous. See, I'm excited about that.
I used to listen to Cyndi Lauper when she was down in Alphabet City down in New York playing in the bars.
Wow.
Did you go
see her? Of course, I was too young at the time to go in there, but the boys' club was like right down the block. So on my way in, I would stay outside, listen to the music and stuff, and then I'd go with the boys' club.
So my old guitar teacher used to play in a band with her in New York. That's where he was from. They were called Blue Angel.
Yeah.
And he played some demos that nobody had ever heard. Man, what a voice she had. I mean,
what do you mean had, dude? She still,
I think she still has.
She was young. I mean, it was just.
I could remember like at that concert leaving, being like, it sounded just like the record, and like she was just on. Like her voice was so strong.
I'm such a fan. I'm mad jelly, and you're like, I'd be shy, dude. Mad jelly. I think I'm gonna repay the favor here. I saw the Carpenters.
Wow.
I saw Karen Carpenter, man, and I can tell you that I remember it. I was very young. It was in Las Vegas. Yeah, that's super cool. Super cool. Spider's going, who the fuck are the Carpenters? Mr. Postman.
We're about the same age there, buddy.
All right, so we're going to go top 3 concerts in our own brain. 3, 2, 1. We've got Don Hill checking in. He saw Tommy James at Jacksonville Beach. Man, I'm a little jealous about that one too, because I love me some Tommy James. One of the biggest influences on Joan Jett, who is one of my heroes out there when it comes to rock and roll. We're gonna go 3, 2, 1. Darren, we're gonna start with you on number 3. Your number 3 favorite concert ever.
All right, I'm gonna go number 3 just because I have to do this because of where I'm at. I'm gonna go Kiss farewell tour with hanging out with my boy Erik with the VooDoo Chef this past tour. How could that not be in my top 3?
Dude, absolutely one of the best. And I have an amazing story from that. So that was my first outing after just being totally obliterated from COVID. And here I am, my wife's begging me not to go. She's like, you already saw the farewell tour when it was at Amelie. and you met whatever his name is. I met Doc at that show, right? And she's like, you need to stay home. I'm like, no. Number 1, Kiss, all right? Number 2, Darren, come on. And so soon as Kiss comes on, Darren reaches over to shake my hand. I am like in La La Land because I still am recovering from COVID. And I'm just like, why am I here? Oh, yeah, it's Kiss, Darren. Darren reaches over to shake my hand, and I'm like, why the fuck is this guy shaking my hand at the Kiss concert? And I shake his hand, and he's sliding me a bottle of Jack. And I look at it, And I take a picture with the bottle and kiss, and I'm getting ready to, of course, open it and drink it. And my daughter looks at me and goes, "Poppy, please don't." And so I put it in my pocket discreetly and thanked Darren and didn't ask for another one. But dude, absolutely, one of my top 3. And we're just gonna, it's the experience and everything, and mad love because I was sitting in the official Jack Daniels section, brother. Props and love. Big Eddie C, number 3.
First off, I got to throw the one you'd be surprised I saw,
yep.
which was Billy Ray Cyrus, and it was when he toured for his second album. And I got to tell you, a buddy of mine had seen him right before that, and he said, "You're going to be surprised." And he only went because it was free. He used to run a record bar, so we saw him out at the Strawberry Festival back in '92 or '93, I think, and he had a lot of rock and roll snap to him live. His band was a bunch of long hairs, and those guys played like it was a rock show. I mean, it was like kind of like the twang was there, but the electric edge was there more than you would normally think, and the drums hit. I mean, everything was good, but I had to look at it not so much. There's too many shows. I've lost count, and I had to write down the why.
Okay, number 1, I am surprised that you went to see Billy Ray. Number 2, I'm jealous that you went to see Billy Ray. Number 3, who's your number 3?
So I had to look at this not so much as a 1, 2, and 3, but who is the best in terms of just music? Who is the best in terms of energy? And then who is best in terms of just absolute spectacle? So I'll go with just plain music. Probably the 2 nights I went in New York City that I flew up to see a band called Marillion back in 2012. I don't even remember what the venue was called. It's changed names, but both nights were different sets, completely different, hour and a half, almost 2 hours, no song in common. They were unbelievable. British progressive rock band. It's been around for 40 some years. And they were just fucking phenomenal. I mean, bands that have been playing together that long and have only had one member change, which was the singer, it was just unbelievable. And you just couldn't believe it. It was in a place that was packed both nights, and nobody in there was not like a huge super fan. So it was fucking fantastic. So
Big Eddie C, I'm just gonna tell you. If you had to quantify that everyone in there was a super fan, I think that's a given because I don't even know who Marillion is.
They had one big top 40 song back in '85, Kaylee. And any girl you've ever seen named Kaylee since, that's where they got it from.
Oh, I might have to check that out. I will definitely check that out. But I love the fact that you said you saw them back to back in 2 separate sets. That's pretty cool.
Yep.
Spidey, you got a number 3 for us?
Yeah, I haven't been to a whole lot of concerts myself.
I can
count them on one hand, but Depeche Mode was one of the ones that my first concerts I went to as a young kid. So that's going to be my number 3.
Dude, that's very cool. That would have been, again, haven't seen that band. I'm mad jelly about that.
They're unbelievable live. Saw them twice.
I would, probably if I were listing my top 3, it would be Kiss, Kiss, Kiss. And I would tell you which years it was. Love the experience hanging out with D. But I think if I were to be honest, I think it was the Asylum tour where a Wasp opened up. And I just think that was such a memorable show because those two bands just absolutely off the chart. Great sets. Kiss introduced into the set that night the Who song Won't Get Fooled Again, or whatever that song is. Absolutely amazing. Just absolutely amazing. We got Paul Compton checking in. We're here with Darren from Brown Foreman. We'll just sum it down to Jack Daniels because he's our man. We did a full-on whiskey tasting tonight, 27, and the Barreled and Bond. Make sure you check those out. You can watch the podcast all over if you're just checking in. Hit us up on YouTube. Make sure you hit the like, ring the bell. Most importantly, find Jack Daniels on all your social media sites. Hit like, hit follow, hit share. Darren, number 2, best concert ever.
Number 2 would be AC/DC. And this is going back to my in the realities of, but both my number 2 and number 1 go back to youth experiences. And music was way more important to me back then. And Back in Black was on a huge. It was probably, I don't know, it probably wasn't an 8-track, but it was definitely a cassette of being played in my Trans Am like a lot.
Oh my God! So, tell me it was black with the eagle on the front.
Yes, yes.
Oh my God!
And
my hero.
It was that it was more of that time of my life, and I remember leaving it, just being blown away of how loud that show was. And I felt like my ears were still ringing a week later. And it was just kind of seeing Angus up there, just doing the schoolboy thing and just being how loud. And obviously I had Brian Johnson just coming into the band. I obviously hadn't seen him previous, and it was just loud and amazing. And it was like that time I wanted to be a rock star. That's where, and it just memories of that show with my buddies partying and just doing it were just, it was something I'll just never forget. I just remember leaving like that was just so amazing. So blown away.
You know what? You're talking about being blown away. I've never seen AC/DC. I'm mad jealous. Number 2, you are a rock star, my friend. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm 52 years old. When I grow up, I think I want to be Darren. Fucking AC/DC, T-top Trans Am, Gold Eagle on the front, working for Brown Foreman, dude. Come on, my friend. Oh, man, you are a rock star.
Well, I may not be a rock star, but I play one on TV.
So riddle me this, Batman. If you heard Dirty Deeds coming through the PA, would you be able to grab a microphone and sing along?
Oh, yes.
I think I can make that happen, buddy.
Yes.
I think I'm the guy who can make that happen.
I can't sing it very good, but I can sing it.
It doesn't matter. I can't sing anything very well. And you know what? I got a friend who will help us along. Do you know who that friend is?
There you go.
Hey, next event that we're at, you better be there. Me and you rock and roll all night to close the show.
There you go.
How about that?
Let's do it.
All right, we got Don Hill checking in. Don, you are just like making me mad here. Pink Floyd at Tampa Stadium in 1987 is your number 2.
I was there at that.
Big Eddie C was there. I'm not a Pink Floyd fan, but I know enough that if they come around, I have to go see them because of who they are and their contribution to music. Absolutely phenomenal. Big Eddie C, your number 2?
So my number 2, I got to back up a little bit. That Pink Floyd one, all my friends came over from Fort Pierce because I had just moved here a few months before that. They were all going to go. I wasn't going to go. I was just going to drop them off. They said, why don't you try to see if somebody's selling a scalp ticket? I'm like, okay, but I probably don't have as much money as what they're going to want for it. Because that was the first one when they had reunited without Waters. It was the Momentary Lapse of Reason tour. So I went with him, and I go wandering around that Tampa Stadium parking lot. Everybody's wanting too much money. And I see all of a sudden when I'm about to give up, this guy's wandering around. He's like, I got a ticket to sell. And I go up to him, how much? He goes, $40, because they were 20. That's how much they were at the time, 20. I said, dude, all I got's a 20, a 10, and a 5, which was a lie. But he's like, okay, cool. Now go get fucked up. Boom, boom. So, and what I didn't realize at the time was that ticket was in the mix with him and his squad. And Pink Floyd was the type of band you did not want to see up close because you'd miss half the shit. Like, because it would be going on up here and you can't tilt your head back. So we were in the back of the bowl there. So I'm looking at it face on. Sound is perfect. The visuals are perfect. And all the folks next to me, guys and girls who were in that group, everybody's high as shit on acid or mushrooms. So the song would end and they'd sit there like this for about 20 seconds, and then they'd go, woo! You know, it was a great experience. But AC/DC, I also got to see in Las Vegas when I went there with my parents, and it was the night before we were leaving, so I knew I was gonna feel like shit. But the day before that, I went to the box office at that Thomas and Mack Center at UNLV, looking for one ticket. One at the box office says house front row. Like, wait, what? You know,
dude, like legit.
Like legit. She said somebody returned it, and they just returned it. It went back online. So boom, the money came out, and it was fantastic. But back to the task at hand. Number two, really not number two, but the best I saw as far as energy, like unflagging first note to last, in excess. No joke.
You're gonna say Kiss, dude.
Kiss is like in a whole other category. You can't really compare the absolute grandfathers of spectacle and energy and music to anybody else. So they're beyond a ranking for me. So I can't rank them.
Well, we'll just leave it. We'll leave that hang right there. We'll go ahead and mark that quote and put that out there.
But In Excess at the Sundome was fucking unreal. I mean, the closest thing I could compare that to is when you and I went and saw Motley Crue and we both shitted ourselves.
Yes, we did.
When the lights went out and there was this huge shotgun blast when they hit the stage.
Oh my God, that was insane.
Yeah.
I may or may not have been enjoying a Jack Daniels at the time, talking with you. Lights were still on, and all of a sudden that big pyro hit.
Yeah.
And then the lights went out. It was like, what the fuck?
Yeah. And that was kind of how In Excess was. The lights are on, and they're playing their intro song, which is the Pussycat song by Tom Jones. And
Wait. By Burt Bacharach, as sung by Tom Jones.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Clarification. And that thing ends, and all of a sudden, you know, because there's a big ass curtain in front of the stage. It's just like a circus colored curtain. And all of a sudden those lights go out, and that harmonica riff in the beginning of Suicide Blonde goes on, and that curtain drops, the lights are down, and they come running out on stage with something to prove, and that was it. That whole crowd was jumping and bouncing and dancing, and it never fucking stopped, man. Michael Hutchins was a golden god, and I am so bummed every day that he's gone.
You're fortunate you got to see him, man.
He was peerless live, just as far as the energy, and they didn't stop. It was like, you know, okay, this song sucks, time to piss, or there's a ballad, I can just kind of sit there and wave my lighter. No.
You mean they didn't have a Hide Your Heart?
That's rotten.
All right, Spider, number two, man. Number two concert ever, Spidey.
Guns N' Roses.
Dude, if that's your number two, I hate to fucking see what your number one's going to be, dude.
It'll probably, I probably mentioned them a couple of times.
But don't, hold on to it. Guns N' Roses are beasts, man. I had the opportunity to see them at the House of Blues and totally shit the bed on that one. Decided I was too tired and didn't go. Actually, I was on a school field trip and, couldn't leave my students. Man, I so should have left them little bastards and gone to see Guns N' Roses. Oh, man. Great show. You and I just went to see Slash. Just a great time. Big Eddie C, you were there. Wow. I could just sit and watch that guy play forever.
Oh, I know, man.
Just flawless. My number two, I saw Ozzy Osbourne and Motley Crue on their second to last show before they split up and Motley Crue went on their own. So I saw Jakey Lee. I saw Ozzy. I saw the entire Motley Crue bunch. But what was best about it is I had to be maybe 14, 15 years old. And I was there with all my buddies and my dad, who had on these noise-canceling headphones. And all he kept saying is, somebody's burning rope. And I had no clue what he meant at the time. But just awesome to be able to experience that, to have my old man, be the one to take me there. Just a great show, and something I'll never forget. All right, here we go. We're going to wind down to number one. Don Hill, give us your number one. Let us know what your number one is. Let's mix it up here. Spidey, I'm anxious. I need to know what your number one is. And just so we all know, I have a tie, but we'll get there. Spidey, give us your number one.
Rammstein.
Oh, my God. Between you and Ed, what am I going to do? Where did you go see Rammstein?
In Germany while traveling through.
Oh,
Man,
wow.
that must have been absolutely insane.
It was chaos. It was amazing.
I thought you were going to say like some Bad Bunny shit or something from this EDM crap you go to.
Bad Bunny's not EDM, buddy.
Well, whatever. Well, that should just sum up what I know about both of those people. And the fact that you say Rammstein, I'm excited. I thought you might break out Manson, but Rammstein, man.
Rammstein.
Darren, you and I keep grabbing bottles. I want you to know which one I keep grabbing.
It's all good.
Oh my God, I'm in love. I think it's amazing.
That's a beautiful thing.
All right,
So it looks like something we might have to have in the VooDoo Bash over there, buddy.
that would be amazing. I know two people that'll have it at VooDoo Bash. I don't know about it. All right, Big Eddie C, man. We got Rammstein on the table. Can you beat it? Before you do, we got Don checking in with Zappa, and I'm just gonna throw a big screw you, Don Hill, man. Zappa.
Oh man,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tommy James. All right, I think the only one that could beat Don would be our boy Costanza. Go ahead, Big Eddie C. Give us your number one concert ever.
Spider ruined it for me. Mine's Rammstein too. But not Germany. It was here in Tampa, I guess 2011 at the arena. And that tour for that album with the stage show that they had, I mean, you could see it online. It was just unbelievable. They came down through the crowd, with the flags, and the lead guy, the big ass 6'6" bass player carrying the torch. They walk down, they come up to this stage that's mounted right in front of the soundboard, and that thing lifts up hydraulically, and there's a big ass catwalk that they all get on, walk out to that, jump on stage, play for a while, and then they came back over that thing, middle of the show, did 3 songs on the mid-crowd stage, which was hysterical because I think 3 of them were on dog collars, and one of them was walking the other 3. It was just batshit crazy. I mean,
sounds about right.
The one song they did, Haifisch, which is German for shark, the keyboard player comes down and he hops in an inflatable fucking raft and hops in that thing, and the crowd he goes round and round, and he just, the crowd it was like some fucking like ravishing Rick Rude shit almost. The first thing he pulls out is a German flag. Then he pulls out the American flag. Then he pulls out the Tampa flag as they're, everybody's just like holding them as he comes back. But, the pyro and that shit, man, I mean, Kiss really started pyro, but when you're watching 2 guys in the middle of a song strap on masks and they have flamethrowers attached to their fucking face.
Yes.
All right, Darren, you got to get my back on this, Darren.
Yeah,
it sounds like an amazing stage show. Darren, get my back because we got.
I'm disappointed they're not going to come here on the new tour. They're only doing some stadiums in the U.S. Closest one, I don't even know where it is. I want to say it's going to be Giant Stadium or whatever they call it, Rutherford or in West Rutherford. But the new stage setup, which is really the one they had 3 years ago before COVID with some modifications, it's just tremendous. They set the bar so fucking high for shenanigans in a show.
Darren, get my back while he's drinking here.
Exactly.
To me, it sounds like Spinal Tap meets Kiss, and I'm just going to leave it right there.
Right there. Okay.
In many ways, yeah, it is.
Darren, give us your number one, my man.
All right. So as I mentioned before, my number one really goes back to a time in my youth when music meant so much more to me than it does even today. And it was that time during high school. And there's part two of this because it was the first time I can remember ever drinking Jack Daniels was at the show. But seeing Van Halen 1984 tour, and in my opinion, at that time there was no. I'm 55. At that time, I was a junior in high school. There was no bigger band in the world, and Michael Anthony was playing the old Jack Daniels bass. And before my friends, we all, I'm pretty sure I think we got a case of Lowenbrau's, and somebody's older brother got us a pint of Jack, and we just got shit faced. Just being a 17-year-old kid, I just remember like having the best time at that show. That leaving it being like, I think that was like the peak of euphoria that one person could have leaving a show, of just being like, what the hell did I just witness? That was just incredible. And just the experience with my buddies, what that music meant to me at that time. I've never felt that way ever leaving a show since. And
what town was
obviously
that?
that's a special meeting being that I know that was the first time that we were all wanting to drink Jack Daniels because of the band and Dave going on stage and chugging it, and Michael with the guitar, and it was just the whole experience of it and what that meant to me at that time. It just can't be topped.
What town was that in? Where were you at?
I was in Worcester, Massachusetts.
Oh, wow.
Dude, fucking just absolutely amazing story.
March 16th. So I'm day before St. Patrick's Day.
That's crazy. That part's crazy that you pull that out. You know what's funny is you say somebody got you a bottle of Jack Daniels.
Correct.
That's how I got it too, right?
Yeah.
I had some bottle of booze with a plaid label on it. And one of my buddy's dad, I was actually just with the guy last night. His dad goes, I know you're holding. What are you holding? And I pull out this bottle, and he's like, ooh, that's a pretty good one. I go, dude, you can have it. I go, I don't even want it. He goes, well, let me trade you. He goes, what do you want? I said, Jack Daniels. And why did I want it? Michael Anthony, Motley Crue, all those people that just, Jack Daniels.
Heroes of our time.
And he got me a Jack Daniels, a 375. And what happened with that 375? I was destroyed.
Yeah.
Oh, my number one. And, I say there's a two-part here because absolutely, it has to be 1979. 9 years old. My parents taking me to see Kiss. Just the fact that they would do that, off the charts. But see Kiss, even though where I'm at now, I could say, even though it was Dynasty. But at the time, dude, it was fucking Dynasty. They had crossed over. They were doing everything. They became bubblegum rock. Everybody hated them. They were the sellouts of the time, but they were selling out every stadium. They were making millions. Just life-changing, like you're saying. Absolutely life-changing at 9 years old to be able to see that. It made me want to. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a rock and roll musician. And that was life-changing. But I do have a tie, kind of like Big Eddie C's story. Huge Jimmy Page fan. And when Page and Plant got together for the No Quarter Tour and they started touring, last minute, I called up my boy Jay Pines. Jay, this is for you, my friend. Called him up, and we went down to the Ice Palace, whatever it was called at the time, with my neighbor PJ. And we walk up to the ticket booth, no ticket day of show. We say 3 tickets. Somebody stops behind the ticket salesperson, whispers in their ear, and he looks up and goes, do you trust me? And I said, hell yeah, I do. We were front row center, and Jimmy Page drooled all over my ass. One of the best shows ever. Wow. Absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. If you're checking this out, watching it on YouTube and the follow-ups, make sure you drop in the comments your top 3 concerts ever. We really do want to know. Make sure you let us know. We got just a couple more questions for Darren before we let him go. We got just under 5 minutes to nail these, Darren, so we are going to fly through these. Before we do, nothing but mad love for coming in, talking.
Thank you everybody for inviting me, and anytime you want to talk Jack Daniels, I'm here,
dude. That we could do it every week. I mean,
I think it's still come up with more stuff I never got to today.
You know what's funny? Ed's going, we fucking talk about it every week. Don't you watch? He drinks that shit every week. And it's absolutely true. What's funny is last week we were doing what we do and talking Split Image, my old band, and because back in those days I drank tequila, this is what's left of the bottle of tequila. But you know what's funny? When we talk Jack Daniels, we sit here with 3 bottles and rock them out, right? Because that's what we do, man. Nothing but mad love. My absolute favorite drink out there on the market. But please remember, drink responsibly, be smart, don't do anything stupid, and by all means, don't believe what you see on TV, and don't think anything different. I talk a lot of smack. I will say that right here, right now, with you on the podcast. Everybody knows I love Jack Daniels. As a matter of fact, this was a gift from one of my students for what we've done for them. But it doesn't matter. If I really drank like you guys believe I do, I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you. It's all about drinking responsibly and being smart. Darren, mad love. You're welcome on the podcast anytime you want to join us. And if you ever want to get on the cooking segment with me, you cook at your house, I'll cook at my house. We'll do it live and have a great night. I'm just going to leave that hang. You can do what you want with it. All right, here we go. We got 5 questions for you, the final 5. This is how we'll end the night. Make sure you log on to all your social media sites. Find Jack Daniels. Is it Jack Daniels USA? Is that the official site?
Just jackdaniels.com.
jackdaniels.com. You can get all the social media links from there. Follow, share, whatever you post with Jack. Make sure you tag me, VooDoo Chef 13, all social media sites. I want to see it. All right, here we go, Darren. We're going to ask you 5 questions to give us a little more insight to you after these concert conversations. And we're under the 3-minute mark. I'm going to hold true to my time. What's your favorite television show growing up as a child?
The Adam West Batman.
Oh my God, amazing show. I promise I will. Oh, I can't comment. God, I love that show. I think I know the answer to this, but bourbon or beer? And by bourbon, I mean, what's your favorite?
Honestly, like for me, it's Tennessee whiskey and a beer, like a Tennessee whiskey proof, and with a cold beer next to it, I'm good. But Tennessee whiskey, number one. If I had it, one of the others, Tennessee whiskey.
Everybody asks me, why do you like Buffalo Wild Wings? Their food sucks. Yeah, it does. Well, wait, it's amazing. And for all you guys listening on the iTunes, I was shaking my head, not really. I walk in and I say, give me some nachos and give me a Jack Daniels, double on the rocks with a lime. When that's gone, bring a Coors Light and then alternate until I go home. Dude, I'm telling you, we're kindred spirits, man. What's your beer choice?
Coors Light.
Oh, motherfucker, dude. When are we going out?
Exactly.
Dude, it's fucked up, dude.
Unbelievable. Y'all.
We got to have some conversations.
Exactly.
All right, what's your favorite cut of steak into what temperature? Be careful with
the Monaco medium rare.
We'll take it. What's your favorite song? I swear to God, if you say it, I'm gonna just like come to your house right now.
Well, if I was thinking, I was gonna say rock and roll all night, party every day, but I'm not.
But that's not true, right?
I know. I'll go with "Ain't Talking About Love," Van Halen.
Great song. Did you sing that one?
Not very well.
It's all right. I can play it. All right. The biggest question of them all, probably the one that took the most thought. What is your death row meal? I know what you drink.
Death row meal.
And hey, for grins and giggles, your death row meal plus which flavor profile would you be drinking with it?
Flavor.
And you can have a Coors Light with it too.
Well, I would, if I had to drink one, if I had to pick one Jack Daniels out of our portfolio, I would drink the Jack Daniels single barrel proof. That's my jam. With a cold Coors Light next to it.
But is that what you have on the side over there that I saw?
I do.
Motherfucker, dude. What proof is yours?
This is a light one. This is 127.9. But this is my sipping whiskey right here.
Dude, that's hot whiskey right there.
Yeah, but believe me, over a big ice cube, just let it open up a little bit. It's so flavorful. And that's why I said just sipping whiskey with a nice cold beer, and it's yummy.
Before your death row meal, real quick, I had one of those bottles. I opened it up and I drank it like I do because you drink like that, right? I woke up the next morning hurting so fucking bad. I pulled out onto the street to go to work. I U-turned home and came in and called in sick because I didn't need to be driving. Drink responsible.
Yeah,
death row meal, Darren. Go ahead.
First choice. I mean, obviously, we just talked. I'm a steak and potatoes guy, so steak and a loaded baked potato. I'm good. If that wasn't an option, I'd go pizza. I love pizza.
And you're gonna do it with that single barrel strength.
There you go. Exactly. And I think we're over. Damn it.
Ice cold Coors Light. We're over by 1 minute and 33 seconds. Guys, thank you for tuning in to the VooDoo Chef podcast. Darren, man, nothing but mad.
Peace, love to you guys. Hopefully we'll be back soon.
We'll be back real soon, man. Nothing but love, booties. Peace out.
Peace out.
We will see you soon.